When I walked out of Royce Hall, the air felt heavier than before. Maybe it was the lingering May humidity, or the way news seems to settle right in your bones, where no traffic breeze or sunshine can shake it loose. Above me, a crow called out from a jacaranda branch, purple petals dusting the steps. Beneath my feet, the rejection letter in my backpack seemed to weigh more than it should. I leaned over, hands on my knees. Then I straightened and started walking, the sound of distant laughter and car horns a throb behind my heartbeat. 20 minutes ago, I sat in a rigid plastic chair in front of 5 faculty members. The committee. Dr. Simmons in her thick red glasses. Dr. Otis tapping his pen, already bored before my slides greeted the screen. 4 years of work reduced to handouts in their folders. "We appreciate your time, Julia," Dr. Simmons began, voice soft but final, "but we can't support moving your project forward at this time. It's not realistic. The data is inconclusive, and quite frankly, the ambition borders on the naive." The others murmured, a chorus of "I'm sorry," and "perhaps if you'd chosen a different application." They didn't know how much those words strung, not just because I had poured myself into this neural mesh prototype for the better part of 2 underfunded years, but because every word was salted by the memories of late nights, ramen noodles, and every family dinner where I had been shouted down as a dreamer. "Thank you for your consideration," I managed, chin up, though I wanted to leave right then. When the door closed behind me, the clack of the latch was louder than any applause. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone buzzed, a text from my older brother. "Mom says you didn't get your grant. Maybe it's time you look at a real job, don't be mad. We just worry." The family group chat pinged next, cousins piping up with empathy and emojis. "They as always next year, you're so smart though." My mom followed up with a string of prayers and a suggestion for a teaching credential program. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I made a mug of stove-brewed coffee, sat at my tiny kitchen table, and slid the rejection letter next to my laptop. I tried to focus on other emails, but the words blurred together, all of it a chorus that echoed the skepticism I'd heard since I was 13. "You're not in the movies, Julia. No one solves Alzheimer's in their garage." That was Uncle Darren, Christmas 3 years ago, when I described my prototype. To everyone else, it was a joke, a family story. Remember when Julia thought she'd reprogrammed the brain? I left my coffee to cool beside the potted spider plant and let my resentment simmer in quiet dignity. There would be no outbursts, no melodrama. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. That summer, life slowed down in new ways. Friends fell away, busy with their own bright futures. My research box sat in the closet beside an ever-growing stack of bills. I worked temp jobs. A summer camp, a dog-walking gig, even a few weeks compiling data for UCLA's alumni office. None of it touched the part of me that wanted to create, to dig into the code of the human mind and see if broken memories could be coaxed whole. Still, I held my project close. Some nights I'd stay up and sketch sequences on napkins or reread my old notes, comforting if bittersweet. The world kept turning without me, faster than seemed fair. I went home for Thanksgiving, where I was the punchline again. At dinner, my cousin Derek toasted my courage for really sticking with nothing. Even my mother laughed. In those months, dignity was a quiet promise to myself. I would not become small, even if others needed me to be, to appease their own doubts. But alone, I sometimes wondered if they were right. It was on a December morning, just after my final temp shift ended, that I found an email buried in my spam folder. Only the sender caught my attention, Dr. Liang, someone I'd met at a conference a year ago. Her startup, AthenAI, was practically mythic in the biotech world. Lean, female-founded, high-risk, high-reward. "Julia, I heard your project wasn't supported at UCLA. That's a mistake. We're looking to bootstrap new prototypes in neural behavioral mapping. Are you interested?" My hands trembled over the keyboard. I typed, erased, typed again, my words careful but eager. By that New Year's, I was riding the Blue Line train downtown in my only good blazer, lab notebook in my backpack, to the crumbling warehouse that housed AthenAI's offices. The small team welcomed me with blunt enthusiasm and little patience for bureaucracy. My project became theirs. The funding was meager, but passionate engineers and researchers filled the gaps with relentless devotion. We ate takeout on cardboard boxes, attacked stuck algorithms with midnight brainstorms, and celebrated every inch of progress. My neural mesh idea evolved, AI-assisted, more robust, shockingly, beautifully real. In that hard light, surrounded by others who had known rejection, something in me quickened. days blurred into months, calendar torn away by the relentless pace of trying, failing, and inching forward. The first time the mesh translated a memory pattern in our mouse model, I cried, arm wrestling hope against the memory of that committee's dismissal. Problems still loomed, of course. Grant's denied prototypes short-circuiting a running log of setbacks. Family remained a distant echo. My brother's wedding passed with a polite invitation and an unspoken expectation that I would not attend, lost as I was to my silly science thing. Even the group chat fell silent, plates and presents for others, with my absence barely noticed. AthenAI grew as much by miracle as math. A private donor came aboard, then another. Dr. Liang was tireless. When the Los Angeles Times came for a feature, she insisted I answer every technical question, her faith steadying me where my family's could not. 3 years later, our breakthrough arrived. Alzheimer's patients, early stage, carefully screened, were showing measurable improvement with our AI-facilitated mesh. Memory recall, faces, names, light returned to their conversations. Independent reviewers began to take notice. There was talk of field trials, then a pilot partnership with Cedars-Sinai. My name appeared on papers, no longer as a footnote. Still, the child inside me who had been laughed at around the dinner table did not believe any of it was real until the moment the FDA called. It was approved for human trials. I stayed up that whole night pacing my apartment, rereading the email until sunrise. I thought about calling my mother or my brother but didn't. Some wounds, I'd learned, needed more than validation to heal. That summer, AthenAI hosted a small but official launch demonstration. Press, investors, family of our trial participants, and anyone who had supported us during those hard years. Dr. Liang urged me again to be the one to present. "It's your dream," she said. "Make them see it's real." On the day of the demonstration, Los Angeles blazed with that relentless, bright heat. The event space near downtown was decked out with monitors and VR visualization booths that projected neural activity in real time. The mesh interface, no larger than a coin, glittered on the table like a promise. I stood at the front, a microphone clipped to my collar, sweat prickling along my spine. My former mentors were in the crowd. I spotted Dr. Simmons, lips pursed, arms folded. Familiar faces from the UCLA committee, now invited as experts. To my surprise, my mother came, her hands clutching her purse, my brother behind her. They took seats near the back, hesitant, as if unsure they were supposed to be there at all. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice faltering before catching strength, "what you'll witness today is not science fiction. 3 years ago, this project was dismissed as unrealistic. Today we show not only that it works, but that it changes lives." Our volunteer, a retired teacher named Mrs. Pena, took the stage. Her daughter helped her settle into the chair, eyes brimming with hope and nerves. The mesh was fitted behind her ear, almost invisible. The display screen flickered to life, colored neural activity swirling in elegant patterns. I narrated as Mrs. Pena told us her daughter's wedding date, her grandson's favorite food, details she hadn't recalled in years, each answer illuminating the fMRI scan. The crowd leaned forward enraptured. When she recited a poem she'd memorized decades ago, the applause was thunderous and unforced. I finished the demo quietly. "We have only begun to understand what this technology can do, but today, families like Mrs. Pena's have another tomorrow." That was always the dream, not for awards, not for glory, just for dignity, for hope. People stood clapping, many with tears on their faces. Cameras flashed. Dr. Simmons approached later, a reluctant but heartfelt handshake. "You proved me wrong, Julia. This is remarkable." I saw my family hesitating near the exit, my mother's lips trembling with something unspoken. My brother ushered her forward. "Julia," Mom said, voice small but fierce. "We always worried you'd get hurt chasing these impossible things. I see now I was wrong." I fought to keep my composure, the ache of long years of dismissal flaring up, hot behind my eyes but tempered now by quiet dignity, sharpened and softened by success. "I just wanted to show you all what I saw," I managed, "that it was real." My brother put an arm around my shoulders, stiffly at first, then tighter. "You did it, Jules, you really did. I'm sorry for, well, I'm sorry." We lingered near the reception, the familiar discomfort thick but something new growing. In the way my family studied the mesh, asked real questions, listened instead of laughing. For the first time, I was not the joke but the story's author. I held my head high, answering questions, introducing teammates, describing the months of work that had led here. As the evening waned, my mother looked around at the swirling crowd. "Are you happy, Julia? I mean, really?" I watched Mrs. Pena laughing with her daughter, engineers and neurologists talking shop beside the buffet, my colleagues smiling over plates of sushi. Yes, I said quietly, for the first time, yes. Outside, the Los Angeles dusk stretched violet and gold across the skyline, jacaranda petals drifting in the hot wind. I walked with my family to their car, voices low, softer for the first time in years. The neon city blinked alive around us. I slipped my hands into my pockets and breathed in the humid, electric air, not the air of rebuke or anticipation, but something earned. Soon I would return to the lab, back to meetings, protocols, and the long tail of data collection and new hopes. But for that moment, under the neon and the night-blooming jasmine, I stood tall. I had come home not just to my city or my community, but to myself, a self forged somewhere between rejection and resolve, now visible in every proud, incredulous face, in every single unmocked dream.